The Midnight Club, a real scary true story. Deep in the heart of the forest, far away from the nearest town, sat an abandoned boarding school. Known as Blackwood Academy, it had been shut down decades ago after a series of mysterious deaths among its students. However, rumors whispered about a secret society that had met there, the Midnight Club, a group of students who performed forbidden rituals in search of immortality. Many believed the club's activities were what ultimately cursed the school. In 2018, a group of 5 teenagers, Ava, Ethan, Mia, Liam, and Zoe, decided to explore the haunting tales of Blackwood Academy. They were urban explorers and vloggers who thrived on chasing mysteries. On a chilly October night, they ventured into the crumbling halls of the academy, determined to spend the entire night uncovering its secrets. As they wandered through the eerie building, their flashlights revealed chilling sights: old desks scratched with cryptic symbols, decayed portraits of headmasters, and an unsettling silence that seemed to press down on them. In one of the classrooms, they found a dusty, leather-bound journal. It belonged to a girl named Clara Mayfield, who wrote about her involvement in the Midnight Club. The last few pages described a ritual called the Veil Crossing, performed at precisely 3 a.m. under a blood moon. The journal warned that anyone who summoned the veil and failed to control it would unleash horrors beyond imagination. Intrigued, the group decided to investigate further. Following the journal's clues, they found a hidden trapdoor leading to an underground chamber. The room was circular with walls covered in strange markings. At its center was a blackened altar surrounded by unlit candles. Despite their fear, the group decided to reenact the ritual for their vlog. They believed it was just an old superstition. As the clock struck 3 a.m., the air in the room grew heavy. The candles flickered to life on their own, and a low humming sound filled the chamber. Ethan read the incantation aloud, laughing nervously. Suddenly, the temperature plummeted and their equipment malfunctioned. Shadows in the corners of the room began to move. The group tried to leave, but the trapdoor slammed shut, trapping them. Ava screamed as a shadowy figure emerged from the altar, its hollow eyes glowing red. It whispered their names one by one. They realized too late that they had awakened the Veil, a vengeful entity linked to the Midnight Club. One by one, the group was tormented. Liam saw visions of his younger sister who had died years ago, begging him to join her. Zoe heard whispers telling her darkest secrets, growing louder until she covered her ears in agony. Ethan was dragged into the shadows, his screams echoing before abruptly stopping. Mia and Ava, the only ones left, discovered a final entry in Clara's journal. It revealed that the only way to stop the veil was to destroy its anchor, the altar. In a desperate move, they set fire to the room, using old wooden debris. As the flames consumed the altar, the shadows screamed and retreated. The 2 girls escaped just as the building collapsed. The footage from their cameras was later found, showing snippets of their ordeal. The authorities dismissed it as an elaborate hoax, but Ava and Mia knew the truth. They never spoke of that night again. Years later, rumors of strange occurrences began to surface near the ruins of Blackwood Academy. Some claimed to hear whispers in the wind, while others saw shadowy figures at midnight. The Midnight Club's curse lived on, waiting for its next victims. Months passed after the horrifying events at Blackwood Academy. Ava and Mia tried to return to their normal lives, but the memories of that night haunted them. They both suffered from vivid nightmares, where shadowy figures whispered their names. Strange things began happening in their homes. Doors creaked open on their own, objects moved without explanation, and at night, they felt an invisible presence watching them. One night, Mia received an anonymous package. Inside was a burned fragment of the altar from Blackwood Academy, wrapped in a blood-stained cloth. Attached was a note that read, "You thought it was over, but the Midnight Club never ends." Ava and Mia met at a local diner to discuss the package. Terrified, they tried to convince each other that it was just a cruel prank. However, as they sat there, the lights in the diner began to flicker. The radio crackled with static before a distorted voice whispered, "Why did you leave us?" The voice was unmistakable. It belonged to Ethan, their friend who had vanished in the underground chamber. The 2 fled the diner, but no matter where they went, the shadows seemed to follow. At night, they began seeing reflections of their lost friends in mirrors and windows, their faces twisted in agony. The shadows whispered secrets only Ethan, Liam, and Zoe could have known. Desperate, Ava and Mia reached out to Clara Mayfield's granddaughter, Eleanor, who had inherited the infamous journal. Eleanor was a historian who specialized in occult rituals and the supernatural. When they explained their story, Eleanor's face turned pale. She revealed a horrifying truth. The Midnight Club was not just a group of students experimenting with the occult. They were servants to the Veil, a malevolent entity that fed on fear and despair. When you performed the ritual, you didn't just awaken the Veil. You became part of its cycle. The club never disbands because its members are bound to the entity forever. Eleanor explained that the only way to sever their connection to the Veil was to find the Midnight Club's original ritual site, hidden deep in the forest. They needed to destroy the first object the club used to summon the Veil, a mysterious obsidian pendant. With Eleanor's guidance, Ava and Mia ventured into the dense forest surrounding Blackwood Academy. The air grew colder as they went deeper, and the sounds of the outside world faded away. Strange symbols were carved into trees, and whispers echoed through the woods, mocking their every step. At one point, Ava froze in her tracks. She saw Ethan standing among the trees, his face pale and his eyes hollow. He whispered, "Come back to us. You don't belong out here." When she blinked, he was gone. As they approached the ritual site, they found a clearing with a circle of stones. At the center was a pedestal holding the obsidian pendant. The ground around it was scorched as though the area had been burned centuries ago. Eleanor had warned them not to touch the pendant directly, so they used a pair of tongs to lift it from the pedestal. The moment they removed it, the ground trembled, and a deafening roar filled the air. The Veil materialized, a towering shadowy figure with glowing red eyes and outstretched clawed hands. The entity lashed out, forcing Ava and Mia to relive their worst fears. Mia saw herself trapped in the underground chamber again, screaming for help as the shadows consumed her. Ava saw her younger brother, who had drowned years ago, calling for her to save him. But Eleanor's voice broke through their terror. She chanted an incantation from Clara's journal, creating a barrier of light around them. Summoning their strength, Ava and Mia threw the pendant into a fire Eleanor had prepared. As the pendant melted, the Veil let out an ear-piercing scream. The shadows retreated, and the forest fell silent. The ground stopped shaking, and the suffocating darkness lifted. Back in the safety of Eleanor's home, the three women believed the nightmare was finally over. But as Ava and Mia prepared to leave, Eleanor hesitated. She looked at them gravely and said, "You've severed the Veil's bond to this world, but you didn't destroy it. The Midnight Club is still out there searching for another way to bring it back, and it will find someone else." That night, Ava and Mia vowed to warn others about the dangers of Blackwood Academy. They uploaded their footage to their vlog, exposing the truth about the Midnight Club. But as the video gained millions of views, strange comments began to appear. "The Veil will rise again. Join us at midnight. The Midnight Club never ends." Unbeknownst to them, their story had inspired a new generation of thrill-seekers to find Blackwood Academy, keeping the cycle alive. 2 years after Ava and Mia's terrifying experience, their viral video became a cultural phenomenon. Urban explorers, thrill-seekers, and conspiracy theorists flocked to Blackwood Academy's ruins, despite warnings from local authorities. The area became infamous for strange disappearances with no evidence ever found. Among the viewers of Ava and Mia's video was a new group of teens: Ryan, a skeptical leader; Jess, a thrill-seeker with a fascination for the occult; Mark, a tech-savvy filmmaker; Hannah, who craved adventure; and Chris, who had a personal obsession with the Midnight Club. Unlike others, this group wasn't just curious. They wanted to finish what the Midnight Club started. Determined to uncover the truth, the group prepared meticulously for their trip. Chris had unearthed new information online, rumors of a hidden relic vault deep beneath the Academy's ruins. Supposedly, it held artifacts tied to the Midnight Club's original rituals. One stormy night, they set off to explore the ruins, equipped with cameras, flashlights, and occult research notes. They arrived to find the forest eerily quiet, the ruins darker and more menacing than they had imagined. The air was thick, and every step seemed to echo unnaturally. As they entered the academy, they felt the weight of unseen eyes watching them. After hours of searching through collapsed hallways and overgrown courtyards, Jess discovered a hidden staircase behind a broken wall. The staircase spiraled deep underground, leading to a massive stone door covered in ancient symbols. It resembled the ones Ava and Mia had described in their footage. Chris, consumed by his obsession, read aloud an inscription on the door. "Those who seek the truth must first embrace the darkness." The door creaked open, revealing a vast chamber filled with relics, ritual knives, dusty tomes, and a large mirror framed in blackened wood. Mark, eager to document everything, captured footage of the mirror, only to notice his reflection lingered even after he moved. Jess approached the mirror and whispered, "What's your secret?" As her breath fogged the glass, a shadowy figure appeared behind her reflection, grinning. Jess screamed, but when she turned around, no one was there. In the center of the vault stood a pedestal holding a large book bound in human-like skin, the Codex of Shadows. Ryan, skeptical but intrigued, flipped through its pages. The Codex contained detailed instructions for summoning the Veil and harnessing its power. Despite warnings in the text about the price of failure, Chris convinced the group to attempt the ritual. Mark set up cameras, and Jess, fascinated by the thrill, eagerly volunteered to chant the incantation. As the ritual progressed, the temperature in the vault dropped. Shadows stretched unnaturally along the walls, and the air filled with the sound of faint whispers. When Jess spoke the final words, the ground trembled, and the mirror shattered. From its shards, the Veil emerged, a towering, faceless shadow with glowing red eyes. It spoke in a voice that echoed in their minds. "You called me. Now you will serve me." The group scattered in terror. Ryan tried to lead them back to the staircase, but the shadows warped the space, making it impossible to find an exit. Mark's equipment malfunctioned, his cameras capturing only static. Jess, who had initiated the ritual, began laughing uncontrollably before collapsing, her body writhing as if something unseen was overtaking her. Chris, mesmerized by the Veil's power, approached it, pleading for its secrets. The entity whispered something into his ear, and his eyes turned black. He began chanting in a language the others didn't understand, further strengthening the Veil. Ryan and Hannah, the only ones left unaffected, stumbled upon a hidden alcove containing an old lantern. Inscribed on it were the words, "Light pierces the darkest shadow." Desperate, they lit the lantern, which emitted a blinding golden light. The Veil recoiled, and Chris screamed, clutching his head. The light revealed the truth. The relics in the vault weren't tools of power. They were traps meant to bind the Veil. The Midnight Club's rituals were never about gaining immortality, but about controlling the darkness they had accidentally unleashed. Realizing this, Ryan and Hannah used the lantern's light to drive the Veil back into the shattered mirror. With a final burst of energy, the entity vanished, and the chamber fell silent. As dawn broke, Ryan and Hannah emerged from the ruins, battered and traumatized. Chris, Jess, and Mark were nowhere to be found. The lantern's light had burned out, and the Codex of Shadows had crumbled to dust. They uploaded their footage, hoping to warn others. But as they reviewed it, they noticed something chilling. In every frame, the Veil's shadow loomed in the background, as if watching them. Months later, Ryan and Hannah struggled to move on. Then one night, Ryan received an email from an unknown sender. It contained a single message: "You've seen the truth. Join us at midnight." Attached was a video of Chris, his black eyes glowing, standing in the ruins of Blackwood Academy. Behind him were shadowy figures, new members of the Midnight Club, waiting to summon the Veil once more. Ryan and Hannah were no longer safe. After receiving the chilling email, their lives took a darker turn. Shadows lingered in their homes, voices whispered their names, and nightmares became their nightly companions. But the most unsettling part was the realization that Chris was still alive, or rather, something else was now living as Chris. Determined to end the cycle, Ryan and Hannah reached out to Eleanor again. But when they arrived at her home, they found it in shambles. Books were scattered, occult symbols were carved into the walls, and the air felt unnaturally cold. In the center of the room lay Eleanor, lifeless, her hands clutching a small leather-bound book. The book was Clara Mayfield's personal diary, containing the final confession of the original Midnight Club leader. The diary revealed that the Midnight Club's founder, Clara, had discovered a chilling truth. The Veil could not be destroyed, only contained. Each time the entity was summoned, it marked the participants as its vessels, slowly corrupting them. To stop its spread, Clara had sealed the Veil using the Codex of Shadows and sacrificed herself to prevent others from reopening the portal. But her sacrifice wasn't enough. The Veil had left remnants of its power behind, corrupting anyone who came too close to the Academy's ruins. The relics were traps, designed to lure thrill-seekers into repeating the ritual, feeding the entity's hunger for fear and despair. At the end of the diary was a warning. If the veil rises again, it will not be alone. The Midnight Club grows stronger with each generation, and soon the world will know its darkness. Hannah and Ryan realized they had one final chance to stop the Midnight Club and the veil. Clara's diary hinted at a central relic, a cursed dagger used in the veil's first summoning. If they destroyed it, they could sever the entity's bond to its vessels, including Chris. However, the dagger was no longer at Blackwood Academy. Clara had hidden it in a forgotten mausoleum in the middle of the forest. The mausoleum was said to be the burial ground of the Midnight Club's earliest members, its location marked only by Clara's cryptic map. As they prepared to leave, the room grew cold. Shadows stretched across the walls, and Eleanor's lifeless body twitched. Her head turned sharply, and her hollow eyes locked onto Ryan and Hannah. In a voice layered with multiple tones, she whispered, "You can't run. The Midnight Club is eternal." Terrified, they fled the house, knowing time was running out. Using Clara's map, they found the mausoleum hidden deep within the forest. The structure was ancient, its stone walls covered in moss and occult carvings. A heavy iron door barred their entry, but with a crowbar and determination, they forced their way inside. The air was thick with the scent of decay. Inside, they found rows of stone coffins, each engraved with the names of the Midnight Club's founding members. At the far end of the chamber was an altar, where the cursed dagger rested beneath a glass case. As Ryan approached the altar, the coffins began to shake. The lid slid open, revealing skeletal figures cloaked in shadow. The undead members of the Midnight Club rose, their empty eyes glowing red. Hannah screamed, but Ryan shouted, "Destroy the dagger!" Hannah smashed the glass and grabbed the dagger. Instantly, the shadows lunged at her, their bony hands clawing at her skin. Ryan lit a flare and waved it at the creatures, momentarily driving them back. As Hannah raised the dagger to destroy it, the air grew heavy, and the veil materialized, larger and more menacing than ever. Its voice echoed through the chamber. "You cannot kill what has always been. Join me, and you will never fear again." The veil offered them a deal: surrender the dagger, and it would release Chris and stop haunting them. But Ryan and Hannah knew it was a lie. Summoning every ounce of courage, Hannah plunged the dagger into the altar, shattering it. The veil let out a deafening scream as the altar exploded in a burst of light. The undead figures collapsed into piles of dust, and the oppressive darkness lifted. The chamber crumbled around them, forcing Ryan and Hannah to flee as the mausoleum collapsed into itself. Outside, the forest was eerily silent. For the first time in months, Ryan and Hannah felt a sense of relief. They had destroyed the veil's central relic, severing its bond to the Midnight Club. But as they walked back to their car, Hannah stopped abruptly. In the distance, she saw a figure standing among the trees. It was Chris. His eyes were no longer black, but his expression was cold and emotionless. "You think it's over," he said, his voice hollow. "The Midnight Club doesn't need the veil. It needs believers, and there are millions now." Ryan and Hannah realized the horrifying truth. Their viral video had inspired countless others to seek out the Midnight Club, creating a new generation of followers. The veil might be gone, but its legacy had already taken root in the minds of others. Months later, strange online forums began to appear, calling themselves the Midnight Network. Users shared coded messages, occult symbols, and coordinates to secret meetings. Videos surfaced of groups performing rituals similar to the Midnight Club's, each claiming to continue the tradition. One night, Ryan received another email. This time it wasn't just a message, it was a live stream link. He clicked on it hesitantly and saw dozens of hooded figures gathered in the ruins of Blackwood Academy. At the center of the group stood Chris, holding a new relic, a twisted black idol, pulsing with unnatural light. He looked directly into the camera and said, "The Midnight Club is eternal. Midnight comes for everyone." The screen went dark, leaving Ryan and Hannah to wonder if they had truly won, or if they had only delayed the inevitable.